Part 1 of 3, The Cold Strategic Architecture of Colorism. To every soul gathered in this space, every mind present, every heart open, every spirit willing to receive what is about to be spoken, you are honored here, you are esteemed here. You are, by the sacred and irreducible fact of your God-given existence, welcome here in the fullest and most complete sense that the word welcome can carry. The breath in your lungs at this moment is not a biological accident. It is a gift, a specific, deliberate, providential gift from the creative force that set this universe in motion, that breathed consciousness into matter, that arranged across the vast sweep of cosmic time the specific conditions under which you, with your specific history, your specific wounds, your specific wisdom, your specific and irreplaceable perspective on the human condition, could exist and be present in this room at this moment. You did not merely arrive at a presentation. You arrived at a reckoning, a moment in which the full weight of one of the most sophisticated, most durable, most psychologically devastating, and most strategically brilliant systems of human oppression ever devised demands to be seen with unclouded eyes, named with precise language, and met with the full force of the collective intelligence, the collective moral courage, and the collective spiritual depth that every person in this room possesses. To those who carry in their bodies the specific weight of what we are about to discuss, who have felt in the most intimate and personal registers of daily life the specific violence of being measured against a scale you did not design, found wanting by a standard you did not choose, and made to feel that the distance between your skin and someone else's represented a distance between your worth and theirs, you are seen here. The system that produced that experience is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of the system's need, its specific, calculated, strategic need to prevent you from knowing your value. And the fact that you are here, still seeking, still thinking, still reaching toward the truth that the system has worked so hard to keep from you, is itself the most powerful possible testimony to the system's failure. To those who have administered the hierarchy without fully understanding that they were doing so, who have participated in the internal social, economic, and marital exclusions that the system designed them to perform, this presentation offers not condemnation but illumination. The system's most sophisticated achievement is making its agents believe they are acting on natural preference rather than installed programming. Understanding the architecture is the first act of liberation from it. To every person present who has ever looked at the divisions within communities of color and felt the specific grief of watching people who share a common history, a common struggle, and a common destiny wound each other with the weapons that the colonizer placed in their hands. This presentation is for you. What we are about to examine is not a moral failing of the people who have been divided. It is a strategic achievement of the system that divided them, and understanding the strategy is the beginning of defeating it. Let us begin with clear eyes, open hearts, and the full discriminative awareness that this moment demands. Naming the architecture, what colorism actually is. Before we can understand how colorism subverts human excellence and undermines global well-being, we must be absolutely precise about what colorism actually is, because the system's first and most essential defense is the mischaracterization of its own nature. Colorism is not a preference. It is not a cultural quirk. It is not an aesthetic choice. It is not the natural human tendency to notice physical difference. It is not, as its most comfortable apologists would have us believe, simply a matter of individual bias that can be addressed through individual attitude change. Colorism is a technology. It is a deliberately designed, strategically deployed, historically documented system of social engineering, a cold strategic architecture built by colonial power to solve a specific problem that colonial power has always faced, the problem of how to maintain the domination of a numerical minority over a numerical majority across time, across geography, and across the inevitable erosion of direct physical control. The problem of colonial sustainability is, at its core, a logistics problem. You cannot station enough soldiers, build enough prisons, or deploy enough violence to permanently control a population that vastly outnumbers you and that shares a common interest in your removal. The mathematics of direct domination are always eventually unfavorable to the dominator. The solution that colonial systems discovered and that the architecture of colorism represents the most sophisticated expression of is to make the dominated population administer its own domination, to install within the community itself a hierarchy that serves the colonizer's interests without requiring the colonizer's constant presence. Colorism is the specific mechanism through which this solution was implemented in the context of anti-Black racism, the specific technology through which the colonial system created within Black and brown communities a buffer class of people whose proximity to the colonizer's aesthetic standard gave them a marginal advantage within the existing hierarchy and therefore gave them a specific personal interest in the maintenance of that hierarchy. The three functions of the cold strategic architecture. The cold strategic architecture of colorism operates through three interlocking functions, each of which is essential to the system's sustainability, and each of which must be understood with precision before it can be effectively dismantled. Function 1. Fracturing unified consciousness. The first and most fundamental function of the colorist architecture is the prevention of unified resistance, the specific strategic disruption of the collective consciousness that would be required for the dominated community to mount an existential challenge to the system of its domination. The history of anti-colonial resistance demonstrates with painful consistency that the moments at which colonized peoples have come closest to achieving genuine liberation have been the moments at which they achieved the specific form of unified consciousness that the negritude movement represented, the recognition across the internal divisions of skin tone, class, geography, and cultural assimilation of a common identity, a common history, and a common destiny that transcended those divisions and made collective action possible. The colorist architecture was specifically designed to prevent this unification by creating a social stratum whose members had been given a marginal advantage within the existing hierarchy, lighter-skinned individuals who received slightly better treatment, slightly more economic opportunity, slightly more social recognition. The system created a class of people who had a specific personal, material interest in the maintenance of the hierarchy that gave them their advantage. These were not bad people. They were people who had been placed in a specific structural position that made the defense of the hierarchy feel like the defense of their own survival. The result was the specific, devastating pattern that has repeated across every colonized community in the world. The community that should have been united in resistance to the external system was instead divided by an internal hierarchy that the external system had installed, fighting over the scraps of proximity to power rather than organizing to dismantle the power structure itself. In the contemporary United States, this fracture manifests in the specific dynamics of colorism within Black communities, the documented disparities in economic opportunity, social treatment, and institutional access based on skin tone that operate as a second hierarchy within the already subordinated community, further fragmenting the collective political and economic power that genuine liberation requires. The research is unambiguous. Lighter-skinned Black Americans earn higher wages, receive more lenient criminal sentences, are perceived as more competent and more attractive by employers, and are more likely to be represented in positions of institutional leadership than darker-skinned Black Americans with equivalent qualifications. These are not preferences. They are the measurable, documented outcomes of a strategically installed hierarchy, the cold strategic architecture operating exactly as designed, fracturing the community from within, while the external system maintains the conditions that make the fracture profitable. Function 2. Externalizing the labor of oppression. The second function of the colorist architecture is perhaps its most brilliant strategic achievement, the externalization of the labor of oppression, the transfer of the work of maintaining the racial hierarchy from the colonizer to the colonized community itself. A system of domination that requires the constant, active, visible enforcement of the dominator is a system that is constantly advertising its own illegitimacy, constantly reminding the dominated population of the external force that is being used against them, and thereby constantly providing the specific motivation for unified resistance. The most sustainable systems of domination are those that have succeeded in making the dominated population administer the hierarchy themselves through internal social exclusion, through the internalization of the colonizer's aesthetic standards, through the transmission of colorist preferences across generations as though they were cultural values rather than installed programming. When a grandmother tells her granddaughter to stay out of the sun so she doesn't get too dark. When a family celebrates a lighter-skinned child's birth as a blessing and mourns a darker-skinned child's birth as a misfortune. When a community's marriage market assigns higher value to lighter skin. When a corporation's internal promotion decisions reflect the same colorist hierarchy as the external society. When a political organization's leadership consistently reflects lighter skin tones than its membership. In every one of these moments, the community is performing the labor of its own oppression, maintaining the hierarchy that the colonizer installed without requiring the colonizer's active participation. This is the specific achievement that makes colorism so durable, so resistant to direct challenge, and so psychologically devastating. It has been so thoroughly internalized that it presents itself as natural preference, cultural tradition, and community value, as something that comes from within the community rather than something that was installed in the community from without. The colonizer's work is done. The architecture is self-maintaining. End of part 1. Continues in part 2. Part 1 of 3, the cold strategic architecture of colorism. Welcome, dear souls. You are honored and valued in this space. As we gather, let's breathe deeply and recognize that our presence here is not a coincidence. It's a sacred moment for reckoning with a complex system of oppression that attempts to define our worth based on skin tone. Colorism isn't just a mere preference. It's a carefully designed technology, a cold strategic architecture created to establish and sustain the domination of a few over the many. It manipulates communities from within, sparking internal divisions that obscure the true battle against oppression. Together, we'll explore how this system fractures solidarity among us and externalizes the work of oppression, making us complicit in maintaining hierarchies that serve others. By understanding these mechanisms, we can begin to dismantle this structure and reclaim our collective strength. Let's begin this journey with clear eyes and open hearts. Colorism. social justice, awareness, unity.